Alright, I wanted to give you guys my opinion on this new Madden video with the dual stick controls. First of all, it points out players like Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith that they kind of used as a motivation or an inspiration, if you will, for these controls. And to me, I don't know if that's really the way I want to see this game going. I mean, they talk about the great body control and footwork that those players had, but these are also players that come along once in a lifetime. To many teams. This is not something that players should be able to do at will or with any player in the game. So are we going to talk about these controls on just a limited amount of players? If that's the case, then, I don't know if this is a step in the right direction, because when you go online, you've only got guys playing with 4 or 5 teams. So if you're going to relegate and delegate these special, running back moves to only certain players, then those teams are going to dominate the online landscape. The other thing is, I don't know if I feel comfortable with saying any player in the game today has the body control that Barry Sanders did, the footwork that Walter Payton had, or maybe the combination of the two that Emmitt Smith had. I just, yes, there's great running backs in the game today, but are they going to stand the test of time in terms of what those 3 men were able to accomplish in their careers? Personally, I just don't think that we see anybody along those lines. Maybe the most recent one would be Tomlinson, and even he started to decline as of late. The problem I have with this is the game right now, as it stands from a defensive standpoint, doesn't quite, work with the limited controls that are in the game in terms of spins and jukes. You get motion shifting, you get sliding, you get these completely unrealistic outcomes to plays. So I don't know if this actually helps anything out, because the defensive side of the ball isn't up to par where it needs to be. Not just in terms of tackling, but also in terms of pursuit angles. And there's already some kind of quirks in the gameplay. I'm going to go and play this video and just try to cycle it through as I finish this commentary. There's already some quirks in the game. And maybe part of me wonders if this wasn't implemented to kind of correct that, the little trick there where you pull back on the D-stick and do a spin, and you kind of make a half moon that no one can tackle because it's completely physically unrealistic move. So one other thing I want to point out is this, to me, again, it shows something, a good start in getting more running back animations, more running animations. Personally, I feel like these should have been in the game for years. I think when you talk about 5-6 years into a next-gen game, we're still talking about running controls being implemented. I find that just almost a little ludicrous, the fact that we've been paying full price for this and now you're adding this in. Something I do want to point out, I really don't know if EA knows where they're going with this franchise. I think somebody at EA needs to sit down and understand that the people who have played this game for the past few years, maybe since its inception, we're all in our 30s. And I don't know many of us right now that have the patience or desire to sit down and learn, advanced dual stick controls to replicate moves that maybe these players shouldn't be doing in the first place. To me, that really clogs up the game, and I don't know if that isn't a step away from the fluidity and, precision of the NFL and what we see today. I mean, these players that can execute these moves make them almost flawless, seamless, and very, streamlined. Yet, when you talk about replicating them in the video game, we're going to talk about very unnatural, very jerky, and very odd responses, such as pulling both D-sticks apart, or one up and one down, or one to the left while one to the right. I just don't know if maybe that's the best way to implement a control scheme like this. Again, I think it's a step in the right direction for sure, but again, as always, I question the implementation if this is going to be something all backs or wide receivers are going to be able to do, because particular to me, these moves don't really look like they've been motion captured. They do look particularly clunky, and again, I really do see the defensive standpoint from the game currently having a very difficult time interacting and being able to stop these moves unless they make just as big advancements in the pursuit and tackling as they have with these new juke animations. Alright guys, the video you just watched actually shot last Wednesday, so I want to go back and play a clip from this newer video that came out. I knew this was going to come out, so I went ahead and held off on putting up 3-minute clips of every little thing. That way maybe I can give you guys about 9 minutes, 8 minutes on something. This is Ian Cummings talking about the dual stick controls, and I'm going to go ahead and it's going to show you how he talks about why they implemented it, and also shows you some more of the actual gameplay with Pierre Thomas.
NHL and FIFA, to me, have done such a great job with fundamental core gameplay, and that's the same thing we want to do too. It's not about gimmicks, it's not about stuff that's kind of extra and not really part of the sport. It's all about focusing on the fundamental parts of the sport and making a true simulation, and that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. So let's check out some of this dual stick.
Okay, so true simulation. I mean, I'm glad he's saying it because I've said it for the past year and nothing's really changed in Madden. To me, true simulation doesn't start with how the running back reacts because the defense right now, in terms of Madden, can't handle the animations that are already in the game. So adding some of these moves, like I talked about in the video that prefaced this, really don't make a whole lot of sense. I'm all for more control, but I'm not for more control if the defense doesn't have a counteract to it. Because all this is going to do is take all the 60-yard runs we saw this year that were extremely unrealistic because of Pro Tac and increase them by tenfold. So let's take a look at Pierre Thomas, some of the moves Ian does with him, and then I'll go ahead and give my comment on that, and then I'll wrap this video up.
So what you can kind of see here is, me manipulating the right stick with the balance and managing how his upper body is controlled with the right stick. So you see here I'm starting to hold forward with the right stick and he's actually balancing, and then there I've actually twisted it to the side. You can see I'm twisting my body away. If contact is coming from that side, now I'll be able to brace myself for that contact, also bounce off of the guy. I'm not going to fumble if I'm turning away from him. And so I can twist it back and forth. There I'm twisting to the other direction. And all this stuff is handled totally analog. So if you're a little bit in between, it's going to pick some of it. It's not like it's just playing an animation. You're also in full control of the guy with the left stick. So it's not like you're just playing an animation. So yeah, you can see moves like this are all done with the right stick as well. Really trying to make sure that the second you hit an action on the right stick, he does it on the field. So as soon as you hit, he goes in that direction. So I mean, we're at this point, we're trying to smooth out the visuals, but we think with the control is pretty much dead on. So you can do a couple of breaks, set a guy up, and then spin the stick around, and he'll spin out of it to set a guy up. So.
Okay, to me that all looks great. I mean, animation by itself on the field, it looks fantastic. I question how realistic some of those moves are. A double juke out of a half spin. I mean, this isn't something I want to see every back in the NFL being able to do. And with Madden, that seemed to be the problem. You don't have limitations on certain moves. Any player can truck just as good as the other. Any player can juke just as good as the other. Maybe some get in and out a little faster, but that's not a move I expect to see every running back in the NFL be able to perform. Now, I can give it the pass because I like Pierre Thomas. Pierre Thomas is a good finesse running back. I could see him in real life doing some of those, but I don't want to see, a big back like Jamal Lewis being able to do those. So, to me, the funny thing here is they're getting back and they're talking about fluid gameplay and user control and everything when, again, while it needs to be in the game, if the defense can't handle all this user control, this, organic user control, then it doesn't really matter. Pro Tac, it mixed in with this organic control, will be a nightmare because you're going to have guys be able to come up in a large group in the game, manipulate moving your defenders. Then one person, on the other side of the ball does a half circle, half spin, and then he's going to be out in the open field and it's going to be a touchdown. So, to me, yeah, this does look like a lot of marketing hype. The most comical thing I find about this is, in the preface of this video, he talks about how now the controls are going to be rooted in both sticks. You're going to be able to pull a half circle, a circle on the stick there and run in a circle. That is exactly what Backbreaker implemented this year. So why in the world, after all these years of Madden controls, are we now going to get back and take Backbreaker's idea on how the gameplay is? To me, that's something I really don't understand. I don't want this game to fail because, like I said, it's been way too long. We've been putting money into this system and not get anything back. I'm seeing an improvement here, but I have to see an improvement on things like defensive pursuit angles and how defensive players interact. I need to see weight and physics and balance matter before you implement it into the game, because right now, balance doesn't matter. Weight doesn't matter. So if I can push the player forward and get a few more yards, who cares? Because the system in the game doesn't already, anticipate weight and anything like that taking into effect. So the fact that I can go manually do it means nothing, except an animation that I'm carrying out where I can manually push the guy forward. In the game, physics really haven't played any kind of strong suit. So to me, great, it's in the game, but again, it doesn't mean anything, so who cares? So that's my opinion. I'm going to put these two videos together. You guys can leave your opinion and what you think of it. This has been Ian Cummings, maybe first time coming out talking about Madden 11 in terms of what they've implemented in the game, so interested to see your guys.